Ford just made a move that sent Trump into a frenzy, shaking the auto industry to its core. With tariffs looming and American manufacturing on the line, his explosive reaction could change everything. Will Ford stand firm, or is this the start of a major industry showdown?
Good morning, everyone.
For the second day in a row, Ontario Premier Doug Ford reiterated his threat to cut off energy supply to the U.S. in retaliation to Donald Trump's proposed tariffs.
Premier Doug Ford wasted no time firing back after Donald Trump's latest tariff threats against Canada. Ford, known for his strong stance on economic growth and trade, made it clear that Canada wouldn't be pushed around. He emphasized the importance of working together with the US, but didn't shy away from suggesting that Canada might need to retaliate if things escalate. His message was direct. North America thrives when the US and Canada cooperate, not when they engage in economic battles that harm both sides. Ford's response wasn't just about standing up for Canada. It was about protecting jobs, businesses, and the overall economy. Canada and the US have long shared one of the world's most significant trading relationships, particularly in the auto sector. Ford argued that trade should be beneficial to both nations and that imposing tariffs would only disrupt the balance. He stressed that industries on both sides of the border are deeply interconnected, meaning that any action against Canada would inevitably hurt American companies and workers as well.
Trump responded to Ford's threat today, saying this.
Well, that's okay if he does that, that's fine, but the United States is subsidizing Canada.
But while Ford pushed for unity, he also hinted at a hardline approach if Trump follows through on his threats. Canada has options, and Ford wasn't afraid to remind everyone of that. He suggested that if Trump imposes tariffs on Canadian auto exports, or raw materials like steel and aluminum, Canada might respond with tariffs of its own. This kind of back and forth wouldn't just impact Ford Motor Company. It could shake the entire North American auto industry. Manufacturing jobs, supply chains, and the cost of vehicles could all take a hit.
This is where the manufacturing might, and it's very concerning.
Ford said he's ready to retaliate, starting by cutting off sales of American alcohol.
Donald Trump is no stranger to making headlines, and his latest remarks about Ford Motor Company have once again sent shockwaves through the automotive industry. He directly called out Ford, signaling that his administration, if he returned to power, would push harder than ever for American-made production. While Trump has always been vocal about bringing manufacturing jobs back to the US, this time, he's making it clear that he's ready to take bold action to make that happen, even if it means shaking up a company as historic as Ford. The former president suggested that Ford, one of America's most iconic automakers, should stop relying on global supply chains and refocus entirely on US-based production. He pointed to tariffs as a potential tool to force companies like Ford to keep jobs in America. This kind of rhetoric isn't new for Trump. During his first presidency, he imposed heavy tariffs on steel and aluminum imports, which raised production costs for automakers, including Ford. At the time, Ford estimated that Trump's tariffs cost the company over $1 billion. If Trump follows through on his new threats, history could repeat itself. Ford, like many other automakers, operates on a global scale. Its supply chains stretch across multiple countries, with materials, parts, and labor sourced from various locations to optimize costs and efficiency. Trump's attack on Ford isn't just about one company. It reflects a larger push for American protectionism, which could have serious consequences for the entire industry. If Trump enforces strict tariffs or pressures Ford to move all production back to the US, it could drive up the cost of vehicles and put a strain on a company that is already navigating challenges, like the shift to electric vehicles and supply chain disruptions.
Produce 500,000 Ford all-electric pickup trucks each year. But the company is officially tapping the brakes on the West Tennessee plant. Instead of beginning production next year,
Ford Motor Company isn't just another car manufacturer. It's a symbol of American innovation and industrial strength. Since its founding in 1903 by Henry Ford, the company has played a crucial role in shaping the modern world. Few brands have had the kind of cultural and economic impact that Ford has, and its legacy is built on a foundation of resilience, bold ideas, and revolutionary changes in manufacturing. Henry Ford had a vision to make automobiles affordable and accessible to the average person. Back in the early 1900s, cars were considered a luxury, only available to the wealthy. But Ford changed that with the introduction of the Model T, a vehicle that was reliable, practical, and, most importantly, within reach of middle-class Americans. By 1913, Ford had introduced the moving assembly line, a game-changing innovation that transformed the auto industry forever. This breakthrough drastically reduced the time and cost required to produce a car, making vehicle ownership a reality for millions of people. But Ford's influence didn't stop there. Over the decades, the company continued to push boundaries, creating some of the most iconic vehicles in history. The Mustang, introduced in the 1960s, became an instant classic, capturing the hearts of car lovers with its combination of power, performance, and sleek design. Then, there's the Ford F-150, which has been America's best-selling vehicle for decades. More than just a truck, the F-150 is a cultural icon, representing hard work, reliability, and the spirit of American engineering. Ford is one of the biggest names in the automotive industry, but even giants face challenges. The company is navigating a rapidly changing market, facing pressures from multiple directions, from the transition to electric vehicles to global supply chain disruptions. Ford is dealing with a storm of issues that could define its future. Some of these challenges are external forces beyond Ford's control, while others are choices the company has made to stay ahead. Either way, these factors are shaping the company's next chapter. One of the biggest hurdles Ford is facing is the transition to electric vehicles. Governments worldwide are pushing for greener policies, and consumer demand for EVs is rising fast. Companies like Tesla have set the pace, leading the industry with innovative technology and aggressive expansion, while Ford has made significant strides with models like the Mustang Mach-E and the upcoming F-150 Lightning. It still has a long way to go. The competition is fierce, and catching up isn't easy. Building an EV infrastructure, from charging stations to battery production, requires massive investment. Ford is betting big on electric, but the challenge is making sure it pays off in the long run. Another major issue is the ongoing global chip shortage. Modern vehicles are packed with technology, from infotainment systems to safety features, and all of them rely on semiconductor chips. The worldwide shortage has slowed production across the industry, forcing Ford to halt operations at multiple plants. This has led to delays in new model rollouts and massive financial losses. With no quick solution in sight, Ford and other automakers are being forced to rethink their supply chains and find ways to keep production running.
The push is on to remind the incoming Trump administration of the tight trade relationship between the U.S. and Ontario.
So it's going to be a constant reminder, and I'll call it a charm offensive.
Ford and Donald Trump have had a complicated relationship from the start. On one hand, Trump's America First policies aligned with Ford's historic commitment to U.S. manufacturing. On the other hand, his economic policies, including tariffs and trade restrictions, put Ford in a tough position. The company had to balance its need for cost-effective global operations with the pressure to bring more jobs back to the U.S. One of the biggest points of tension was Trump's tariffs on steel and aluminum. During his presidency, he imposed tariffs on these key materials, aiming to protect American manufacturing. While the idea was to boost domestic production, it ended up increasing costs for companies like Ford that rely heavily on these materials. Ford's leadership estimated that these tariffs cost the company over $1 billion, forcing them to make tough financial decisions. Instead of benefiting from Trump's policies, Ford found itself struggling with higher production costs. So, what are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below.